Now it's time for Open House, sponsored by Pyramid Heating and Cooling.
When it comes to painting, there is one expert that I follow on social media that gets me all the answers I'm looking for, and that is Chris Berry, the Idaho painter and owner of Paint Life Supply. Welcome back to Around the House Northwest, my friend.
Oh, glad to be here once again. So hopefully we can help your audience out, solve some problems, or give them some new painting tips and tricks.
Absolutely, man. First thing I wanted to tackle was, it is such a challenge when you're doing the exterior house, and I know it's an exterior house painting season right now. What are some of the best practices for people that are going to go out and try that DIY paint job? Because this is where it seems things go off the rails.
I think it all starts with the prep work, and your paint job is only going to be as good as the prep work done. And that's the part that you don't see, but you do see it in some respect when it comes to caulking and stuff like that. But the prep work is vital, and it's very important, especially the caulking and sealing process. And I think that's probably, like, when I see homeowners do it, tackle an exterior paint job themselves, a lot of it, they just don't even know what to caulk or seal on a house. And usually almost nothing gets caulked on it. And we actually, as professional painters, we caulk quite a bit on a house. And I would say probably the average house, 3,500 square feet, we're going to use probably a case of caulking on the average home. And that's going to be a home that's, first time repaint. If we've painted it, previously, and now it's getting another repaint, there's not going to be very much caulking because we do a lot of caulking initially. But when the house is built originally, the siders don't do very much caulking, and then the painters almost do zero caulking. So that's something you don't want to miss or skip.
Makes sense. Now, primer is a place that I think there's a lot of mistakes that happen out there. What's your take on primers out there before you paint?
Now, typically a homeowner, they have their house, they're going to get ready to paint it. It's been painted before, more than likely. If it hasn't been painted, all composite siding typically comes pre-primed. Hardy plank comes pre-primed. Metal siding is typically pre-painted. So if it's in good sound condition, the substrate doesn't have any problems with it, it doesn't need to be primed. So typically, the average repaint we're approaching the house. It's been painted probably once or twice before. If it's in good sound condition, if you use a high quality paint, you do not need to prime the house. Now, there are going to be places in situations where we're going to use a primer. And so, if we got anything blistering on the siding, if you got blistering on the composite siding, that's opening up the siding itself, exposing what we call this glorified cardboard to weather damage and water, and we're going to want to prime that. If your house is wood and you got peeling paint and exposed wood, you're going to want to prime that. So we do spot priming, but we typically don't prime the whole house. There are scenarios when we would prime the whole house, and that's if you have a condition called wax bleed, or if you're doing some say a yellow house. Yellow is really, really difficult to cover with, and priming the house so you get better paint coverage is probably a good option.
Nice. And then what do you recommend for paint? Because, it's so confusing. Someone walks into a big box store, even a paint store, and they see this maybe 30-gallon, gallon paint. And of course, then you've got the $100 stuff. Yeah. What do you recommend for paint grades? Because it gets really confusing for homeowners.
It does, because you walk into a big box stores and there's just aisles of paint, and it can get overwhelming, just like paintbrushes. There's a bazillion paintbrushes out there. And when it comes to paint, you really do get what you pay for. And I'll say my entire career painting, over 25 years, we've always only used lifetime warranty coating. So whatever manufacturer we choose, and I would say like every manufacturer out there has a high-end paint and a low-end paint and everything in between. And in order to make a low-end paint versus a high-end paint, if you're the money, you're going to be adding what we call resins into the paint. Higher quality resins, more resins. The more resin, the more expensive the paint. And the resin's what gives the paint the ability to bond, stick. It's what gives the paint the ability to weather strong and be weather resistant and water resistant and fade resistance, UV resistance. Your resins are what give the paint that strength. in order to make a cheaper paint, you're just going to take out resin and add in binders and fillers like calcium carbonate, chalk, clays, and stuff like that. So a cheap paint is just not going to bond as good. It's going to fade a lot faster, and it's going to probably get chalky and peel over time. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. So we're running out of time, Chris. What is the best place for people to find you? Because you're all over the internet, my friend.
So yeah, I create YouTube videos. I've got over 2,000 how-to videos on Paint Life TV on YouTube. So that's where it all started 13 years ago. We're also on Facebook on the Idaho Painter, Instagram Idaho Painter, TikTok. We're on everything. All you got to do is search for Idaho Painter or the Idaho Painter, and we're giving tips and tricks every day on social media and twice a week on YouTube, Paint Life TV. You can also find all the tools necessary to complete a paint job at our store that you mentioned, paintlifesupply.com.
Perfect. Thanks, my friend.
You're welcome.